Right, we'll start with the session. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Aniruddha Datta. I'm the current GDSC lead. It's probably the first time some people have seen me. This is the first event of GDSC's tenure in 2022-23. So, welcome everyone to this session. This is my first time speaking for this tenure, and there are some awesome people working for this event. I'd like to thank everyone who has been part of it, and we have some other awesome people speaking today and tomorrow. Today's speaker, I think you remember him from all the way back in February when we had GDSC Explore, and he was one of the featured speakers in Explore for Android. I'd like to welcome Shreyas Patil today on behalf of us for speaking and conducting this event. Thank you, Shreyas. How are you feeling today, Shreyas?
Yeah, I'm feeling very nice. How are you guys
It's
feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. It's great to have you back with us. I'm really glad you could be with us here today.
Yeah, same here.
I, I'll hand everything over to you. You can share your screen first. Thanks. Thank you again.
Sure. Sharing my screen. Cool. Hey everyone. Welcome to Compose Camp, and yeah, in today's session is about introduction to Jetpack Compose. I believe like before this, you had a walkthrough of Kotlin and all. So to understand more of Compose, it's recommended for you to be like aware of the Kotlin and Android ecosystem first. Then it will be very easy for you to like learn from this Compose camp. So let's start without wasting any time. And yes, so before we proceed, let me introduce who am I. So I am a Google developer expert for Android and working as an Android developer at Paytm. So I build Paytm apps which you might be using. And basically, I always do stuff around Kotlin and Android because I like them most. Apart from them, I also do develop web applications. I'm also organizer of Kotlin User Group Mumbai, which is a community by JetBrains. I also do open source stuff and maintain some of the open source projects on GitHub, which you can find from my GitHub profile. And I also do write blogs on my website. So let's start. So let's start with the beginning. Like we will see what exactly Jetpack Compose is and how can you use it. So Jetpack Compose is Android's modern UI development toolkit, native UI. It simplifies and accelerates UI development on Android quickly by bringing your app to life with less code, powerful tools, and Kotlin APIs basically. So it allows you to write less code and like bring more design and more UI into Android. So that's all. Here are some key features of Jetpack Compose. The one of the best and my personal favorite feature is it is built using Kotlin. So you don't need any separate language for your development in Android if you're using Jetpack Compose. Like if you have tried, legacy Android development, like not Jetpack Compose, then you might have seen like we used to develop UI in XML file. Then we need to bind that XML logic in our Java or Kotlin file, right? So you need to develop your UI in XML and then write your business for that UI in Java. But that's not the case in Kotlin because it itself is built with Kotlin. That's why it is very fast and easy to do UI development with Jetpack Compose. Also, it requires very less code for UI. So you just need to focus on what you want to build and you don't need to take care of like extra things because Compose automatically takes care of those things for you. Their APIs are very intuitive, like you know what exactly you are doing if you're writing Jetpack Compose because it provides you a DSL way of declaring UI and it's a declarative pattern. Just like you develop web apps, right? If you have tried Flutter, if you have tried React Native or React,
Okay.
Jetpack Compose is same. Like you just declare UI and everything happens.
Yeah.
It is very powerful,
Yeah.
and one of the best thing is it is compatible with existing Android view system. Existing Android view system means, let's say if you have big application, so it is not possible to like completely move away from that and move to Jetpack Compose, right? Because it is not an easy task. So in order to do that, like it is compatible with existing Android system, so that we can have compatibility there as well. So these are the more or less features of Jetpack Compose. Again, we are going to see it action. Now, question is why to use Jetpack Compose? So let's understand a reason for choosing Jetpack Compose. So, in existing view system, as we already discussed, right? Like you need to design your UI in XML layout files, and you need to bind XML layout in Android activity class. So it becomes very tightly coupled, and maintenance over it for all future tasks. Let's say you change something in XML file, you also need to reflect that in your main activity file. And if there is a miss, runtime exceptions occur sometime, like XML errors, inflation errors, or something like that. Or let's say if you change something in activity file, you also need to do some changes in XML file sometime. So it is very tightly coupled, like your UI logic becomes tightly coupled. So Compose actually solves that issue. So in Jetpack Compose, there is a single language, like no XML, only Kotlin. So you can have UI and operations in the same place. So UI in the same file, operations in the same file. Thus, it is very loosely coupled, and you can then create reusable components, UI components with Jetpack Compose. For example, if you have did React programming or let's say web development, then you create some common reusable components as per your theme, right? For example, if you are creating a button, so throughout the app, the button should look same. So you define, let's say, custom CSS for it, and you utilize it throughout the application. So that is very possible in Jetpack Compose, and it is a declarative UI. So you can have only one activity file and many like how whichever screens you have in application, you can make composable of it. So you do not need to have multiple activities if you are using Jetpack Compose. You just need one activity. So let's compose and let's understand Jetpack Compose by writing small piece of code. So for example, in order to add Jetpack Compose in the project, you need to add this dependency and this enable this feature in your build.gradle of app module. So in app module, you first need to enable this build feature. I will turn on laser. So first of all, in build.gradle of app module, you need to enable Jetpack Compose feature so that your IDE, Android Studio, will automatically take care of adding its plugin. Then this is a like compose version option. It may be vary. Then you need to add these dependencies inside your project. So these are compose related dependencies. So just add it, and you can directly start composing your components once you call this method set content on activity, which is extending component activity. So from the component activity, there is an extension function called set content, and inside the set content lambda, you can start building your UI components in Jetpack Compose. But how to create those UI components? Let us see. So in order to create a composable functions, they should be annotated with this composable annotation, and compose compiler do rest for you. For example, there is a function called myComposable. Inside it, you can write your Jetpack Compose logic, and you just annotate it with composable. So it does what? So Jetpack Compose compiler, which is backed by this annotation processor, generates the rest for you. So you don't need to be like care for other stuff. You just need to focus on your UI development, and that's all. So let us see some common composables. Common composables means like these are the basic components provided by Jetpack Compose library, so that we can use them in our application. So for example, if you want to show a text, right? If you want to show a text on your screen, so for example, there is a function greeting here, which is a composable function, and to which we have this parameter called name, and inside it we are showing this text. So text is saying, let's say, hello, and this is a templatized name, which is Kotlin feature if you have heard. And if we say it will render output as like this. For example, if we pass name as a John, it will render this output on screen. So this is simple text component. So this is how you can add text in Jetpack Compose. And let's say if you want to add a button in Jetpack Compose. So for example, you can see there is a standard component provided by library, which is a button. And inside the button there is a parameter called onClick, and onClick is basically a lambda function and like lambda parameter. And inside that lambda parameter we can write anything which will be executed when that button is clicked. And inside the button we have declared that we want to show a text, click me. So this is how it looks. So click me is basically text inside the button. So it feels like it is a text of button. And whatever, like when we click this button, then whatever we have written inside this block, it will be get executed. Don't worry, we are going to try this practically as well. So we are going to see it. For example, if you want to add an image in your application, so there is a standard component image, and image has a parameter called painter, and painter basically accepts a painter resource. Resource means in Android you can keep your static assets like images and other stuff in drawable directory, so it automatically picks from there. So let's say r.drawable.android_logo. So let's say if I am having android_logo.png file in my drawable folder, it picks from there. And let's say this is how it looks. So it is very simple to add image as well. And now, in order to build actual UI, you always need a layout for like arrangement of your components. So let us see which are basic layouts provided by Jetpack Compose library. So let's say now you can see we have this text A, text B, text C in composable function. So if we render them, it will look like this. This is happening because they are overlapping each other and there is no specified layout, because we are not telling Jetpack composable that arrange my components in particular order. So in order to achieve that, there are some components. For example, there is a column component. So you can see like this is our previous code, text A, text B, text C. It is same, but we have just now wrapped them inside column, right? It is inside column. Nothing is changed. And now you can see they will be in like vertical order. Column means vertical order. So whatever you now add inside add under column, they will be automatically get arranged in vertical order. Likewise, we have row. So you can see like from column we just changed to row. The rest code is same, and now the components will be arranged in horizontal manner. Row is for horizontal manner. And then there is a box component. So box is like you can have like you can define any kind of layout with box, like any complex layout. For example, to A, I have said modified it align on top start. Then for B, I have mentioned it as a center, and C as a bottom end. So in zigzag manner basically. So these are some basic layouts in Jetpack Compose which we will need to use in the current application. And modifier. So let us see superpower of modifier. So modifier is like CSS of your HTML, by which you can style your components, like, or add behavior to your components. For example, modifier you use to decorate or add behaviors to your element. For example, you can specify background, you can specify padding, margin, like all stuff like clickability and many more. You can control anything from this modifier concept. So let us see some example. For example, here I have created a box, right? So for the box, we have provided background color as a cyan, right? Inside the box, we have a text, hello text, okay? And to that text, we have again a modifier of padding 8 dp, and after padding, we are applying a color red. Now you can see output. So this is a box layout basically, like outer cyan color, and inside there is a 8 dp padding. So spacing of some like 80 units, and after that there is a text with red color background which we have specified here. So this is how you can use modifier in Jetpack Compose. Now recomposition, which is a very interesting stuff in Jetpack Compose. So recomposition is the process of calling your composable function again when input changes. So you might have seen like there are composable functions which have some parameters. So they should change when actually parameter value are changed, right? Like, so your UI should be re-rendered, right? So let's say if you have seen Flutter or React Native or web development, let's say our if state is changed, the UI is updated, right? So likewise in Jetpack Compose, it is termed as recomposition. So when compose recomposes based on new inputs, it only calls functions or lambdas that might have changed and skips the rest. No worry. We are going to see this and like feel this practically. But before that, let's understand what is state management in Jetpack Compose. So compose is a declarative, right? As we saw already. So in order to update the state of Jetpack, components, we need to update it by calling the same composable with new arguments, right? So state management is responsible for that. So these arguments are representation of UI state. Anytime a state is updated, a recomposition takes place. So whenever state is changed, the composable function is called again and again, like every time the state is changed. So composable function can store a single object in memory by using the remember composable. A value computed by remember is stored in the composition during initial composition, and the stored value is written during recomposition. Remember can be used to store mutable and immutable objects. So this is the theoretical part, but we are going to see it in next section. So in order to create a state in Jetpack Compose, you can use this function mutable state of, which creates a mutable state object, which is an observable type. Okay, observable means like whenever the value is changed. Let's say this is value, right? This is a var. Var means its value can be changed anytime. So whenever this value is changed, like we get notification that this value changed. So that compose can basically recompose the UI. As it is mentioned here, any changes to value compose this function, like whoever reads it. So let us see. So for example, there is a column. Inside that column, we have created this state, right? We have created this mutable state with empty string, and then we have created a text field. Text field means basically a edit text in input box where you can type with keyboard, and we have gave value as a text value, and whenever on value change callback we are getting, we are assigning it to a text value. So it is like we are maintaining state of typing, and after that we have a text. So this text is basically responsible for, like, let's say you typed and text value, so we are showing a user whatever he typed. For example, see this example. So this is a text field, and here we are saying whatever we are typing here, it is getting reflected here because we have wrote this state management code here. So what happening is, so whenever this value is changing, this whole function is getting executed again and again with the new updated values. That's why it is showing new values always here. That's why it is in sync. So this is how state management is possible in Jetpack Compose. So compose in action, yeah, like there is a lot of theory, right? So let's switch to Android Studio actually and see how can we develop a simple application with Jetpack Compose. So I will show my desktop. So just open a Android Studio and let's create a new project. So you can click this new project button here, and when you create this new project button, you will get a window, and there are so many templates available for creating application, but choose this empty compose activity. So it will automatically include all the steps for Jetpack Compose. So I will say, let's say sample app. Okay, you can give any name as per your wish. Okay, let's click finish, and let's give some time so that it can finish Gradle building. Let's wait until the progress is going here, and now you can see our project is being created. Actually it is created and this project is now building. So this is how like Android Studio looks like, where you can actually develop applications. And as you can see, it already automatically included some basic Jetpack Compose code in our project. For example, there is a sample app theme. It created a surface. So these are sample app theme is basically a function which creates theme for our application. For example, I'm navigating to this theme.kt. You can see it has created a light and dark theme for our application automatically with some specified colors. For example, it has created these colors for us, like purple and teal color. So when we run application, our application will have this theme. You can change this, like let's say if you want to change color, you can directly change color here, and like it will be applied to our application theme. And surface is basically a standard composable function of Jetpack Compose library, material library, which is basically for which occupies your whole screen. For example, you can see this modifier, right? Modifier fill max size. Fill max size matlab, like it occupies whole display area, like application area of your display, and applies this color, like background color to it. Background color means, let's say it will be white if light theme, and dark, like black in case of dark theme. And there is a greeting with hello something. So this is our basic application, and let's remove this code so that we can actually write our main app code. So today we will develop a simple counter application with Jetpack Compose, and we'll see how simple it is. And after building a counter application, if we get some time, we will also build a simple calculator application which will take input from two text field and will calculate them. So our project is ready. It is built. Now you can see, like if we check Gradle scripts, it already has like included Compose 1.1.0 beta 01 version and Kotlin version. And actually this is an old version. Currently new version is, I guess, 1.2.0. But yeah, if we change it, it will again take time to build project. So let's continue with it. And you can see in the application level build.gradle file, it has included compose dependencies already. So we don't need to perform this like those steps. We can proceed to actually develop our application. So as you remember, whenever we declare, whenever we write a compose code, we declare it with a composable annotation. So let's give a name as a counter. So what will be the UI of counter application? Can you imagine, like there will be two buttons, right? A minus button and plus button, and there will be a text which will in which we will show like whatever the count is, right? So for this, I guess we have to use column layout, because we will show like button first, minus button, then a text with count, and then plus button, right? Proper counter you want. So let's say there will be a button. So declare a button. Inside the button, we'll add a text with, let's say, minus button. Correct. I will copy this code and paste it here, and just text changes text to plus button. So this is how our buttons will be created. And so if you want to test this, right, you will need to like run the render counter here. So you will need to run this inside an emulator, but we don't need that here in Jetpack Compose. So in Jetpack Compose, you can check the preview of your composable function by writing a composable function again with preview annotation. So let's say if in sample theme, if we include counter, and let's say if we click build and refresh here, okay, it is automatically okay. If we click build and refresh here, then it will show us preview of this counter composable, like how our component will look like if it is rendered. So let's wait and check like how it looks. So this is still building, and yes, it is rendering. And in the right side now you can see this is how it looks. So you can see like two buttons are created. So in middle of button, these two buttons, we will add a text. We'll say text is like count equals to 0, not 0, like we are temporarily doing it so that we can taste like how it looks on actually one. Because now we are just done with the prototyping, we are just done with UI, but we need to add state management to it, right? You can see buttons are here, count it will show, and like plus button. So how can we actually now manage the state, right? How can we manage the state? So we have this mutable state, right? So we'll say count by mutable state. Okay, I intentionally not writing remember, function, so that I can explain to you like what exactly remember function is used for. So I will say mutable state of 0, because initially count will be 0, right? So I will say let's import this. So to import this, just press the suggestion is coming here like alt plus enter. So just click alt enter, and it will create a mutable state for us. So we want to show this state value of state inside the text component, right? So we will directly write count here. So this count, like whatever the value of count, it will be replaced here with Kotlin support. So what should happen if we click plus button? So when we click click minus button, the count should be get decremented. So we'll use count minus minus, and same here, count plus plus. So this will be helpful for us to like basically change the state of count, or like change the value of count. So now let's run the application. So I already have emulator installed, set up on my machine. So I will just click this run button, and we should see application running inside emulator. So here warning is coming. We will just ignore this warning as of now, so that I can explain what exactly recomposition is in Jetpack Compose, and how can we manage the state. So what exactly happens when you change the state? Cool. A result is not null. It automatically generated code for us, and we'll simply say result equals to result, and we are only showing result if it is not null. Cool. And now what should happen when this button is clicked? So first of all, we will need to like extract actual number from actual number, right? Because this is a string, and because we can type whatever in the text field, right? We can type characters and all. So we will have to find out what is the number from, like what is the number which is typed inside the text field. So we'll say val n1 equals to number one dot toint. So this toint is a function which basically converts string to integer. Let's copy the code and let's call it an n2, which will basically extract a number to integer, and we will then say result equals to n1 plus n2. So whatever the value is present in n1, like number one and number two, it will be get added and will be get stored in the state field called result. So now you can imagine like whenever the result is available, it will be displayed here. So let's run this application and see whether it works or not. So now you can see, yes, there are two text fields. Now if I enter 10 here and like anything, and let's say 100, and if I click add, you can see like our addition calculator is working. If we change anything here, yes, calculator is working very fine. But if I by mistakenly enter any character and click add, our application got crashed. Like, let us see what it says. So in Android, if your application is crashed or some error comes, you can debug it from uh, this logcat section. So you can see like we have a fatal exception. So what is that exception? It is a okay, I lost it. Where is it? Yes. So it is a number format exception because it cannot trace number from this string because we entered any characters, right? So it is not possible to extract out numbers. That's why our application got crashed. So we also need to do error handling in Jetpack Compose now, because like it is not good experience to show crashed application to user, right? So whenever user like enters the wrong values, we will show a error message to user. So let's create another state field, like let's say error message. It will be also a nullable string, right? Because error is not available initially. It will be only occur if user actually writes error genus code, right? So let's say, and you might have learned the basics of programming language, like we can do like exception handling with try catch block. So we'll say try catch, and inside catch we will catch the exception. And inside the exception, we will say error message equals to, let's say, please enter valid number, right? And then we will calculate this result here. Cool. Yes, and if error message not equals to null, we will say, we will simply say show a text with the error message. Now it is showing some error, and it is suggesting us to use Kotlin late expression, which is a feature of Kotlin if you have seen it in the previous sections. So now error message, we always show it in a red text, right? So we can change the color of text in Jetpack Compose using the simple parameter called color dot, here are list of colors. So we can say color dot red, and let's rerun our application. Now you can see, let's say if I enter anything here and anything here, it is showing us a message like please enter valid number. So it is working, like our application is not crashing now. And if I enter a valid number again, now you can see it is showing result and error message as well. So our error message should be get dismissed, right, whenever it is not available. So we can say, so before on clicking button, we will nullify error message again, so that it will always calculate a new value before it. So let's try it. For example, so yeah, our application is launched. If I enter anything, I click add, error message is coming. Fine. If I enter something here, cool, error message is gone, and now result is visible. So yeah, this is how simple calculator application looks like in Jetpack Compose, and you can still see like it is very simple code. There is a UI code, and inside UI we have wrote our addition business logic. So that's what the advantage of Compose. Like you can have a UI and your code in the same place, so you don't need much extra handling of it. So that's all about Jetpack Compose. Here are some learning resources. So you can always refer to the official site, which is updating every time whenever new resources are available. There are official blogs by Android developers on medium.com. You can subscribe to it. There's an official YouTube channel where we regularly get updates of Jetpack Compose and all other Android stuff. And there are Google Code Labs by which you can practice your Android code labs. You can learn about Jetpack Compose more there. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on my official site, Shreyas. You can ping me on Twitter, LinkedIn. You can like browse my open source projects on GitHub. You can read my blogs on this site. And now, if you have any questions, I would be happy to solve them. So, if you have asked any questions, I would be happy to answer them. So, if you have any questions, just type them on this platform message section. I guess we are not having any questions. Okay, we have. Okay, state. So, as we saw in the slides, I will again. So, state is simple. Like, for example, okay, let's revert to our counter application. Let's undo this because counter application is a very simple application. Okay, it is not undoing. So, as you saw, so let's create a simple counter button. state of 0, right? Let's say initial state of count is 0. So as you can see, for example, if we run the simple application, right? So this is a counter application which we just have one button. So when we say increment, this count gets incremented. So what is happening exactly? So when you increment this, then the current value is getting incremented. Like let's say current value is 19, and if you click in increment, the value gets 20. But whenever this value is changed, our UI should re-render, right? Like our UI should be get re-rendered with new value. Then only we can say appropriate. We can show appropriate data. Like we can present appropriate data on UI. So what happens is Jetpack Compose. So Jetpack Compose is a functional approach. Like it is not that XML that like. You don't need to call that set text and all in Jetpack Compose because this is a declarative. So just like if you have seen Flutter or React Native, or this is a principle of declarative paradigm that you can have a state management. So you just need to create the state in Jetpack Compose with this syntax like by remember mutable state of. So whenever the value is updated, this text will be get this state will be this block will be called again with the new value with a new value of this count. For example, count was 0, and if we click this button, so on the click of the button we are incrementing count, right? Count plus plus. So this is our state is modified, and whenever state is modified, whoever is reading it, like who is reading it currently, this only text is reading it. So text will be get recomposed with new value. So our next value will be 1, right? So it is the value of this variable will be 1, and this count will be get like again recomposed, again called with the new value. So this is how state management in Jetpack Compose. Yeah, like for initial, like if you are a very beginner, it will take you some time to understand more of it. So I would say just practice it, and you will definitely get it. I hope I answered your question. Yeah, this is answered. If you have more questions, you can ask. I guess we don't have questions, right? Can we conclude that? Okay, what are the advantages of using Jetpack Compose over traditional XML method? So yeah, like just we have seen in the slides. So Jetpack in XML, you need to write your UI code in XML language, right? XML you need to drag and drop basically, or if there is a complex layout, you basically write by going there in that file. And it's not that easy in XML because you need to bind your layouts and all everything. You need to specify literally everything in XML. Then again, after it is done, you need to come to your activity file and activity or fragment anything, and you need to bind it there. So that complexity is reduced by Jetpack Compose, and it's completely declarative. If you have just seen the counter application and addition application, like simple calculator, it was very simple, right? You just declare your UI there, you are performing your UI operations there as well. So it was very simple in Jetpack Compose. And let's say go more into deep. So XML rendering takes some time, but Jetpack Compose, the code is in same language. So performance also gets improved whenever our application is launched, and application size also gets reduced if you are fully using Jetpack Compose. So these are some of the advantages of using Jetpack Compose. Compose is still developing, so it's a little hard to get if we completely switch to Compose. It's not like that. If you there are actually many good resources of Jetpack for learning Jetpack Compose. You can refer to Compose samples. You can refer to Compose Cookbook. There is a repository on GitHub, Compose Cookbook, which is by Guruprit Singh. You can see like how you can develop UI designs in Jetpack Compose in variety of applications, and many companies are adopting Jetpack Compose. Even in our company Paytm, we have started using Jetpack Compose. We are migrating to it, and we are now completely developing new features in Jetpack Compose itself. So that's how Compose is really working, and it is not that hard because you can see, like, no, it was very easy and simple for us to develop a counter application. And just like for other, like, if there is a complex use case, then also Compose becomes easy over XML thing. So yeah, for learning Compose, I would say do not refer to tutorials. Then, like, you can refer to official site, some good repos on GitHub. So you will definitely get it easy to refer for learning Jetpack Compose. Yes, Jetpack Compose have like out of the box support for animations, and you can like bring any animation in Jetpack Compose with very easy and very intuitive API. So there are some repositories on GitHub by Google or by some other developers as well. As I mentioned, Compose Cookbook by Gurupreet Singh. You can refer to that repo. Uh, he has like included many good animations in it. So you can, yeah, Jetpack Compose supports animations out of the box, and it is also easy than we used to do in XML. So yeah, that's all. I will paste the link of that repository uh, here so that you can refer to it, and can basically look at this repository for learning more about Jetpack Compose. And just look at the screenshot first, and you can see like how much complexity of UI is he created. Like he have created Spotify application, UI, Twitter, Gmail, YouTube, Instagram, and you can, if you see the code, it is very easy. So yeah, that's all. And I guess there are no more questions. So thank you everyone. Thank you for joining this today, and thanks for being great audience. And I really love, like, I could help you in learning Jetpack Compose, and thanks for asking questions.
Thank you, Shreyas, for being here. I'm not exactly an Android developer. I've tried some of it, and the code for Jetpack Compose looks like really intuitive. It's really simple. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for the session.
Yeah, sure.